Hey guys, it's Miss Bird. Hope you guys are doing well. This is your first video for the week. As we continue kind of like with our distance learning, each week I'll be posting 2 different videos. We're going to start talking about Japan, and I will be talking about 2 different aspects of Japan. So for this week, we're going to kind of introduce you to Japan itself, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the geography of Japan, and then next week we'll cover something else. For each lesson that I give you, I will always have notes up here behind me to where you can kind of follow along as I talk about them. These notes will also be available to you on a PowerPoint that will be provided for you in Google Classroom, and it'll have different pictures and things like that I reference as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So for our first one this week will be Japan. You'll always see that I'll have a date for the beginning of the week. I will have the video title and which number we're on, and then I will tell you what we're talking about specifically. So 014, so will be Tuesday, April the 14th, Japan video number 1. We're going to be talking about the introduction today, just kind of getting you guys familiar with it. Now, with the land of the rising sun, that's what Japan is known as. That's what Japan refers to themselves. And when Japan first kind of gets discovered by these other civilizations that we've been talking about, that's what they referred to Japan. One of the biggest reasons why is because the first reference that we have to Japan comes from China. Now, we've talked about China a lot in class. And so what it is when China refers to Japan as the land of the rising sun, they're literally referring to the direction in which the sun rises. So if you know anything about the sun rising and setting at all, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Well, when you look at a map of China, and I'll have one on Google Classroom for you, you'll be able to see it in your PowerPoint. When you look at a map of Asia and where China and Japan are in like respects to each other, Japan is east of China. So Japan, when you are in China and you look in the direction of Japan, you're literally looking in the direction in which the sun rises for those in China. So that's what they started referring to it as, is this is the land where the sun rises. The other reason is for religious purposes, for Japan and kind of their origin story that you would hear. Their sun goddess, so one of their main goddesses in some various religions that they've got, their sun goddess is actually considered to be an ancestor to all of their leaders. So what you'll see is we start talking about who's in charge of Japan and how that kind of works. The person who is in charge is considered to be a descendant from the sun goddess, the same way in which we talked about with Egypt and the pharaohs. Now, there's going to be a really, really strong influence coming into Japan from China. A lot of different things that we kind of see overlapping in Japan is Japan and China are going to have a very similar type of government. And this just means that they're going to have one person in charge. And this one person in charge is going to kind of be over everything. They're going to have a strong religious influence and things like that. They're also going to share art and writing. Both the art and writing that we see in China is going to look very, very similar to Japanese art and writing as well. The other thing is we've talked about Buddhism extensively. We are going to have a strong Buddhist influence coming from China into Japan. When we talk about in later weeks, when we talk about the samurais in Japan, a big portion of how they act and interact with each other and the people of Japan is this idea of Buddhism. There's going to be 2 different forms that we see. Now, the last 2 pieces down here is there's a strong nature focus that you will see in Japan. A lot of things and how they interact and the words and the phrases that they use is the way that they interact with nature and Buddhism and each other comes from this aspect that they're not just some random person sitting somewhere, that they're actually involved and actively here and part of nature as well. And the last piece are the rice crops. A lot of our discussion this year in class has been how are these people farming? What is it about these civilizations that kind of made them stand out where they were for a big portion of China, and what they were farming around those rivers and those fertile areas are going to be rice crops. Well, when China kind of discovers Japan and they come through, they're going to teach the Japanese how to do these rice crops as well. So here's our little introduction to Japan. This is our first video. Be looking in for your second video. I'll have it labeled as Japan number 2, and we'll be talking about geography. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me.